there's one thing, and maybe it's just me, that has got me questioning this entire thing and has actually got me leaning toward this being a work.
What's going on, everybody? Zack Heydorn here with the Takedown on SI and another episode of Discussions with that man right over there, Rick Ucchino. Rick, dude, I got one question for you. One question and one question only today.
Am I ready?
No.
Okay.
You're ready. You hit record. You're ready.
I'm always ready.
Is Seth Rollins really hurt?
Shit.
That's my question for you today. Let's discuss.
Yes. That certainly seems to be the buzz. Seth, anything and everything Seth Rollins coming out of Saturday night's main event on Saturday, which I was there. Anybody who saw the video of him being helped to the back, that was mine. My social media hit up crazy than I've ever had before in my entire life. Appreciate everybody who followed, by the way. It's right down here, by the way, if you want to follow. You can. Same with Zack over there as well. But I was in the building and I'm watching all of this go down. And in real time, I gotta tell you, Zack, in real time, it seemed legitimate as all hell. It was one of the most clunky, awkward finishes that I've seen. And it was a finish that was paint by numbers would be an injury related thing. So Seth Rollins goes for the springboard moonsault. He lands on his knee, buckles, goes to the corner. He's talking to Paul Heyman. He's talking to the referee. Doctors come over, check him out. LA Knight is like just befuddled, standing in the corner. All after a few minutes, Rollins gets up, hobbles over to LA Knight. LA Knight hits a BFT, pins him clean as a sheet. So everything about that screams legitimacy. He gets helped to the back. Like I said, screams legitimacy. There was an even better video, the one that I got, somebody in the front row, of him shouting obscenities as he starts hobbling his way to the back. Screams legitimacy. Not long after that took place, I'm getting text messages from fellow reporters who were in Dallas going, what the hell happened?
What's going on?
And then they're going, and then they're checking into things. And I'm hearing from some people who are saying it seems legitimate. And then we get people like John Pollock and Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer, who were all told ahead of Saturday night's main event to watch out for an injury angle. And the latest on this, because Seth was on the Rich Eisen show this week, and he was saying, hey, look, I'm going to be out for a while. Don't have a definitive diagnosis yet. Got an MRI on Monday in Birmingham. Too swollen, convenient. Too swollen to get a definitive diagnosis. We're going to get another picture taken in a couple of weeks in Los Angeles. Well, what happens to be a couple of weeks from now, Zack, is SummerSlam. Already around. There's a lot of little things. First and foremost, referee did not throw up the X signal. That's one of the very first things that I myself and a few other people noticed sitting around watching this. The referee did not.
Well, that's been compromised too, 4 angles.
Yes, it has been.
We got to call that out.
Just one of those things.
Yeah.
Okay. But the fact that this was immediately questioned, does raise the ultimate question. And there have been a few other things that have happened since Saturday night that makes me question what is actually going on and what can be believed. But if this is a work, Zack, one, Seth Rollins is playing it extraordinarily close to the chest. Dude was at Evolution in a knee brace on crutches. Like, he's playing it extraordinarily close. The word from Brian Alvarez of Wrestling Observer is that Seth had a minor injury heading into this. So it's a bit of both, really. It's a work and a shoot. He had a minor injury heading into Saturday night's main event. Nothing that would keep him out for a significant amount of time. This angle was shot to make fans think that he's going to miss a considerable amount of time. But to what end? A surprise early return, Money in the Bank cash in, something like that, perhaps at SummerSlam in New Jersey in a couple of weeks when he's supposed to be getting an MRI in Los Angeles.
On CM Punk, perhaps, the guy that he swore he could never let win the world championship?
Perhaps, possibly, maybe.
Yep.
It just, I don't know. What before I dive into the couple of things that has me questioning this, what do you make of this? Where does your heart lie? Your brain tell you right now?
My brain tells me that he's hurt, but he's just not going to be hurt for very long. So that I take the approach of like, what did it mostly look like? Well, it looked like he kind of banged up his knee a little bit, and he's probably going to miss a couple weeks. I think that's a reasonable approach to take. Plus, now we disagreed about this on the Saturday Night's Main Event prediction show, but I just did not see a scenario where Seth Rollins would be losing clean as a sheet to LA Knight after one finisher in the middle of the ring. So if you rewind back to that opinion, it's really hard for me to sit here and go, oh yeah, Rollins just agreed to eat this pin because he's going to fake an injury so that the cash-in can be more sudden. It just seems like a lot of hoops. And I think the more plausible explanation is just he got hurt a little bit. It's not all that serious, but he's going to miss a little bit of time. And let's do something with that. Boom. That's kind of where I think we landed on this.
Okay, so let me put my detective hat on this, as I've often do, and I've analyzed a few things. I did pick LA Knight to win. I picked LA Knight to win because I was expecting a ton of shenanigans. Now, the injury to Rollins could have cut short any shenanigans that would have taken place.
That would have happened, right?
That would have happened. I did find it odd that we didn't get any outside interference really in that matchup against Seth Rollins, which is what I predicted. So Knight ends up winning clean as a sheet off of the injury, but let's fast forward to Monday, where LA Knight is put into this gauntlet match to determine the number one contender for the world championship at SummerSlam. He is the second man in the match, and he gets beat clean as a whistle against an already tired Braun Breaker. He gets beat with very little fanfare. Yet Jey Uso gets protected. They had to go out of their way to protect the former world heavyweight champion, Jey Uso, against Braun Breaker. And then Braun Breaker ultimately loses to CM Punk. And then Roman Reigns comes back, and we'll see what ends up ultimately happening. With him, probably maybe a tag team match at SummerSlam. Maybe he gets one-on-one with Braun Breaker, but my guess would be Roman and Jay against Braun and Bronson, which again makes me question what the hell are we doing with LA Knight? And that's the thing. The booking of LA Knight makes me think this injury is legitimate, because you do not give him a clean victory over Seth Rollins and not follow up on that at all. He has been feuding with this new alliance, and now all of a sudden, okay, he beat Seth Rollins and he's done, and now what? He gets beat by Braun Breaker again, clean, after Braun had already wrestled one person. I forget who was first. Penta. He beats Penta. So after beating Penta, he beats LA Knight, who just beat the leader of that faction in Seth Rollins, clean on Saturday Night's Main Event. Screams legitimacy.
I will add one more thing to the legitimacy argument, because you brought his name up. Braun Breaker. It seemed to me like on Raw this week, there was not a like it wasn't like a holding pattern to like, well, we just got to keep this faction sizzling until Seth can come back. It was like, now Braun's the guy of this faction.
Sure.
Paul Heyman's talking about him. He's running the gauntlet in matches. He's talking about, eventually winning the world title. Like, that seemed like, a background, like an important background player, no question, when Seth's there, now taking a giant step forward into the kind of leading role of that faction.
Sure. Which again could also be a setup. It could be a red herring.
Yeah.
And there's just one thing though. There's one thing, and maybe it's just me, that has got me questioning this entire thing and has actually got me leaning toward this being a work.
Okay.
Because part of the Alvarez report, by the way, is that both talent and backstage production members were led to believe, not all of them, but some were led to believe this was a serious injury. So they are really going out of their way on this one.
And the boys don't really like to get worked that much.
No, they do not.
They do not like that.
And Triple H is not one to work the boys,
right,
or the girls, or the production staff.
Yep.
But Triple H is my clue here. Because at the Evolution press conference, Triple H went out of his way to give an update on Seth Rollins.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Triple H never gets ahead of anything. Anything.
Never.
He sits back and waits and hopes he doesn't get asked about certain things. He has answers prepared for certain situations, I believe. Maybe not, considering some of his answers in the past. But I mean, he has genuinely, when I've asked what some would consider legit questions, giving me great, genuine responses. I will, for a myriad of reasons, I will never forget the Indianapolis press conference, the infamous one where Cody and Jay were drunk off their ass. I'll never forget the response that he gave me when I asked about Edge going to AEW. So he has given me good responses. I think a lot of that tends to be you have to ask a good question. Phrase it in the right way. My question for Triple H was going to be, hey, I know, respect to the girls, it's their night, but what's going on with Seth Rollins? I didn't have to ask because he jumped out ahead of it to say it doesn't look good, doesn't look great. Not a definitive answer. We've gotten zero definitive answers, and Triple H actually went out of his way to say something, to address something that in and of itself does not pass the smell test.
That's a real, you know what? I've not heard that one before in terms of like the detective hats going on. That's a important one, because here's the other thing why, and this leads me to think it's a work, is that the WWE is like a well-oiled machine. They are like a sports team when it comes to their medical. Like if one of their top 4 guys, or like stars is hurt, dude, like they're going to know. They're going to figure it out. They're going to know, and they're going to know pretty quick. Just like if a quarterback goes down in an NFL game and busts up his knee, you know, pretty certain, like soon after. And so it's kind of like the longer that this goes on where there's no response or nothing definitive, like the more it's just going to fan the flames of, okay, get ready to see Seth Rollins at SummerSlam.
So, and WWE never really confirms injuries. Never.
Yeah. Well,
there's no kind of like public statement usually outside of what is done in kayfabe. So they will kind of kayfabe it, and usually they will tack on months.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, right. Like there's very rarely do they kind of do any kind of transactional updates anymore. They don't announce releases. They don't. Only one time have they ever announced a contract signing in which it was Jade Cargill. Like I thought in the TKO era, that was like the first big, hey, we've signed Jade Cargill to a multi-year deal. I thought we were going to get more of that. We haven't really gotten any of that since the Jade Cargill thing. There's never really any kind of transactional announcements with this team, and that includes injuries.
What do you remember about like Triple H answering questions about injuries at post pay-per-view media scrums? Does anything like ring your bell as like, oh yeah, no, he did do it this time or he didn't do it that time? Like I'm just trying to think in the Rolodex because you've been to a lot of them. Like,
right. Nothing stands out except for the fact that you had to ask.
You had to ask, right?
You had to ask. That's like the only thing that has ever stood out to me. Like when Punk came back, waited for somebody to ask about it, didn't even address it. Same with R-Truth, didn't address it until somebody asked him about it.
Right.
Very rarely, if there's a big thing out there, does he try to get ahead of anything, which is that one thing that is like, you know, and to your point, Liv Morgan, when she got hurt, somebody reported that she was going to be out for months within a few days.
And she is. Yeah.
And she is. And like the injuries are completely different, by the way. So there is some validity that they can lean in on this, where, yeah, maybe the swelling is too much for them to get a definitive thing, or the fact that Seth has had this injury before, they know they can use that as an excuse to keep from giving a definitive diagnosis. So, man, it feels like I got the tinfoil hat on, but at the same time, it kind of feels like I don't. Kind of feels like I don't. But the fact that Triple H went out of his way to give an update on the superstar without having to be asked at a press conference about something, to me,
that tells you everything you need.
Screams that we're being worked at least a little bit.
What do you guys think? Let us know. Let us know in the comments. Let's have a discussion about this. All those in favor of him getting worked, let us know. All those in favor of it being a shoot, let us know. But most of all, hit like on this video and make sure you subscribe to the channel. We got a boatload of stuff hitting the channel this weekend for sure. We got Trick Williams is going to come up with a big interview this weekend. Jordan Grace, an interview I did with her, just dropped as well. She talks all about Blake Monroe, and that's tremendously interesting. But she also talks about life as a free agent in pro wrestling. And that was my absolute favorite part of the interview. So check that out. We got Silva dropping too, right?
Yeah, Carlos Silva is going to drop TNA president this week. John Alba spoke with him. By the way, if you haven't had a chance, check out all the stuff we had from All In.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, Lyric was at the press junket, got to talk to Powerhouse Hobbs and Mark Briscoe and Timeless Tony Storm. All those interviews are up. John Alba's fantastic conversation with Hangman Adam Page is still up. Eventually, I'll talk to somebody actually on a video, but instead, you can check out all my great writing for conversations that I had. Read that interview I did with Trish Stratus. It was spectacular. Not to toot my own horn, but I meant like her answers were really, really good. And then I just wrote around them. Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot to check out here or on the website at the Takedown on SI.
Yep. And in the meantime, we'll catch you soon. Catch you real soon, right here on the Takedown on SI. This is Discussions. I'm Zach. That's Rick. See you later.